Imagine a time when the Romans ruled on vacant lands, and after living peacefully for around 300 years, they decided to leave. The place becomes deserted, and soon Anglo-Saxon tribes start living. A great Viking army invades from the north, and they settle themselves, attracting trade from all over the world. A couple of hundred years later, the land is retaken by the English king, and soon medieval age flourishes with markets and artisans on the cobble streets. Today, this imagination is exactly preserved in one of the best medieval cities on earth, and I am taking you through its cobble streets and architecture to tell you the fascinating story of this city and how you can experience the city at its best. Welcome to one of the most medieval and exactly preserved cities on earth, York. The year is 71 when Romans invaded York and named it Eboracum. They started building a wall around the city. The city walls have evolved over the centuries, and the best way to see them is by a free walking tour. Every day at 10:30 am and 1:15, you can attend a free 2-hour walk around the city by a professional guide, and I'm going to paste the link of the free tour in the description down below. The tour guide took me around the city, showing how the city walls have protected people from invaders over time. You will also see historic ruins. The city walls have spaces for archers and watchmen and is the longest in the country at 2 miles. Most of them later were built in the 13th and 14th century. The Romans were great warriors, and many of their famous emperors visited or lived in the city, like Emperor Hadrian in the year 120 AD, who built the famous Hadrian's Wall to prevent invaders from the north. It still stands today. And then we have Emperor Septimus Severus, who controlled the whole Roman Empire from York. Perhaps the most famous is Constantine the Great, who was crowned the emperor in York after his father's death in the city. Around 400 AD, the Romans left York, and York was deserted as a Roman base. This is where anglo-saxons came from Germany and Denmark. They were farmers who led a simple life but were also warriors, and most of them had pagan beliefs. Looking at the great wealth the region had, it attracted the Vikings, also known as the Great Heathen Army. Yes, we all know Vikings. In fact, we know Thor. He was the Viking god. The Vikings came in ships from Scandinavia to York through the sea and into the river. It was Ivar the Boneless who captured York on 1st November 866. He defeated the Anglo-Saxons in York, and they called the city Jorvik. They lived peacefully as farmers, craftsmen, and traders. The best place to witness them today is the Jorvik Viking Center in York, and I am visiting the center to learn about the fascinating history of the warriors and their society. I experienced a ride into the Viking tunnels, choosing over various languages and witnessing perfectly created Viking society. The real-life animation elements will leave you amazed, like this man producing objects made from antlers, a Viking father teaching his son, a family playing a board game, the recreated houses of Vikings, and the busy market streets where you are in the year 900. All these things you see is not a myth. They were discovered in the city, carbon dated, preserved in the museum, and still today new things are being discovered.
This is a must visit in New York, and this is amazing.
The Vikings plundered a lot of towns and abbeys until the Anglo king Harold defeats the Vikings in the Battle of Stamford Bridge. Want to hear something more interesting? He was later defeated by William the Conqueror. Aegon Targaryen from Game of Thrones series is supposedly inspired by William. Now William the Conqueror started building a castle, and you can see the remains of this at the Clifford Star.
So this is the Clifford's Tower. This is one of the last remaining parts of the York Castle, which was once built by William the Conqueror. This one, what you see right now, is the last part remaining. It's one of the last part remaining, and you get a spectacular view from the above. So it's a must visit if you come to York.
Next visit the York Minster, the 13th century cathedral. Just as impressive from outside, it is as beautiful from inside too, making it one of the most important structures of York. Inside, you can see the largest collection of stained glasses in England, and is in fact the largest Gothic church in England too. I stayed at the Bay Horse Inn, a beautiful guest house outside York in a calm village. It is one of the best ways to admire Yorkshire beauty. In the 13th century, York and surrounding region bloomed in the medieval era, with wool and trade industry to its peak. And today, York is preserved in its medieval form, and I am showing you the shambles as the best example.
Is Shambles, one of the most picturesque places in York, and the alleys behind me is one of the main reasons why Harry Potter was inspired by this place. So if you are in this town, this is a must do.
Time has not changed here. I am shopping in the medieval times. The Diagon Alley in Harry Potter was inspired by this. There are small wooden shops which sells antiques, clothing and foods that will boost your taste buds. Visit the Barley Hall to step back to the 13th and 14th century to learn how local people lived in the townhouses. Visit the Yorkshire Museum in the center of the city to learn more about the past. Beside it is St. Mary's Abbey, ruins of one of the most powerful monasteries in England at that time. These all are located in the York Museum Gardens. You can see the places where the monks lived, prayed, worshipped and helped the poor.
So the walls you can see behind me, okay, they are the ancient York walls. They were used as defense structures. They were used by archers, and because the Scottish kings were the frequent visitors to this city, because they were attracted to the wealth the York people had, the York Abbey had at that time.
This was the entrance to the abbey, and the walls protected the wealth the abbey had. St. Olave's Church is just beside the abbey and was a Viking church in the year 1055. St. Olave is the patron saint of Norway, and you can see the flag of Norway here. Later the monks took care of it after the Vikings left.
So behind me is the Botham Bar, which is a medieval gate, and it was used as an entrance to the city by medieval people.
As you keep going inside the gate, you can see the narrow streets leading to the new part of the city. Still magical, you can get lost in the alleys. We have now seen enough of medieval times, and York would have been lost in time if the Industrial Revolution hadn't come. The railways came to York in 1839. There was a rebirth of York. A must visit to York Railway Museum will immerse yourself into the steam revolution. The collection also has a Japanese Shinkansen, and the famous Mallard, which made the world record of fastest steam engine till date. The most important collection is the Flying Scotsman, which is today the most famous locomotive in the world, completing 100 years of service in style. The Scotsman has travelled 2.5 million miles, went to the USA for a public tour, and even to Australia. And the best part is, it is still running today. It travels between London's King's Cross and Edinburgh in Scotland. The railway brought a revolution to York. York's chocolate story will show you 3000 years of the city's chocolate history. Another attraction related to chocolate is at Castlegate Street, the York Cocoa Works. Here I tasted one of the best hot chocolates. York has evolved over time, and it has also preserved its beauty. Without the walls, the minster, or the railways, York would have been a usual sleeping English town. If you like this video, give a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. It's free.